What's that? Who there? Whoa.
I want to shift to this Shark Tank piece, and for multiple reasons. A, you guys came in crushed Shark Tank. B, I think there's so many people that watch Shark Tank, but don't really understand how different it actually is, right? The experience of being on it, from what I've read, is so much different than like the 2-minute clip that you end up seeing on ABC. So first, I just want to talk about like you guys got a deal with Mark Cuban, who I think anyone's preferred partner, right? Like there's strengths that everybody brings with Mark Cuban's a boss. The deal was $500K for 12% equity, which at that time imputed like a 4.2 million valuation or so. And so, just to set the stage for people who didn't see the episode, but let's just talk about like, what was your guys' approach going in when they reached out to you? Were you like, this is a no brainer? Or were you thinking like, we either want a really favorable deal for ourselves or we're not doing it? Like, walk through the game plan.
So just to set the stage a little further back, I was what I thought was early talks with Post Malone's manager back in the day. So we sent him some product. I got a few Snapchats that I was in Posty's house. Really thought we were close. So Selom and another buddy ended up prank calling me, pretending to be Trey London. And I freaked out. I was like, we landed on this is our first celebrity. Let's go. Turned out to be yanking my chain, which really hurt. And then, like, what was it? 4 days later, Salam called me and said, dude, Shark Tank called us back. I was like, fuck you. I'm so over this. But Salam just applied on a whim. I think you said through an Instagram ad.
Yeah, I saw an ad on Instagram and I saw the application and there was like 10 questions on there and I didn't think anything of it. So I just like half-assed each of the questions, expecting it to go nowhere. And I got a random phone call in April. I saw the voicemail, but it was a guy named Sai saying that he saw our application, looked at our product. He also has tattoos and he's already a big fan, so he'd love to talk to us. And then we went through with the process. So we ended up calling him back and he was like, yeah, so let's get you guys some paperwork and then send us a few practice pitches. And between April and then us getting there in September, we probably did about 10 practice pitches. Because like everyone we did, they just weren't happy with this, which like over and over and over again.
You're saying like you did pitches that you filmed and sent them and they were like, no, It's not good enough.
And like borderline were like, listen, really like you guys. I like you guys so much that I'm going to make you do this again because I can't send this in, which you didn't have to say. And, it was super helpful. But it took a while to get it right.
So those pitches you sent in, those are like application videos, I'm assuming, for the actual show. Like what % of people get on the show that send those videos in?
They say 40K people apply to the show every year. And then when we shot, so they split the shootings between August, a week in August and a week in September. And each of them had 60 different entrepreneurs. So about 120 people out of the 40K people end up going to pitch. And then out of the 120 people that end up pitching, they only show 80% of them as episodes.
So you get the call, like you send the video in, it was good enough. Eventually you got the call, you're going to be on. When you go in there, like walk us through like what it actually is like. Isn't it like a 2-hour conversation and like versus, the 5 to 10 minutes that they show on TV? Like give us the rundown.
So the conversations can be easy or difficult depending on like what you tell them. And they've seen hundreds of pitches, so they can pretty easily and quickly sniff out bullshit, like if you're lying about something or something doesn't add up. So we're in there for about 45 minutes. Every question they asked us, we were able to answer it super straightforward. They weren't going too in deep because we weren't bullshitting. We knew our numbers right away because we practiced for 10 days. So before the day we pitched, we were in 2 separate hotel rooms for 10 days each. So all we did in there was just like work and just practice and practice and practice. We were watching past Shark Tank episodes, trying to figure out which companies mostly closely resembled us, and then going over the question that the sharks asked those companies so we could figure out what we'd say when it came to us. And luckily, most of those questions that we ended up practicing, we ended up being asked those questions.
Yeah, we had like advisors and investors grilling us on everything from financials to like just getting our story down straight and everything like that. One of the coolest parts about the Shark Tank experience, especially after being locked up for 10 days, was they put us all in a ballroom with the groups that we're filming. that day. So we got to interact with a bunch of other companies that were kind of feeling the same anxieties we were. And more importantly, made some really cool connections. Like there's this guy, JT, who has this company called Craft Mix. It's kind of like a liquid IV, but more so from the lens of being a drink mixer. So I don't know, just got to meet some really cool people who have turned out to be some really great connections that we still meet up with to this day. So that was really cool and really helped calm the nerves before walking in. Um, my perspective on the experience is I actually thought it was pretty darn close to what you see on TV. I mean, granted, you're in there for 50 minutes getting grilled versus the 4 you see on TV. So you don't really know what's going to air. There's definitely some jokes that don't land, and you got to just hope they don't air. But like it felt like the show I grew up watching. Truly.
A lot of people think that when you get on this show, it's multiple takes. So you just get asked the same question over and over again, but it's just all done in one take. And then the sharks are all talking over each other. So you have to figure out who you want to answer and paint your story that way. So there's a lot of information that we had to leave out based on the questions that they wanted answers to. And they're pretty demanding about who you should answer.
Yeah. And so you guys went in, obviously got the deal with Mark. I think that was your ideal partner, but like why? When you thought about, because Mark seems like the one with the deepest connections, the most creativity around being able to go outside the box, and like he has a huge portfolio to connect you with other brands, right? The athletics tie-in is huge. But like, did you think about some of the other partners and just like went with Mark, or how do you approach that piece?
So to your point, Mark's definitely the most well connected. He has the deepest pockets. Obviously, NBA is a huge franchise for tattoos, considering they're wearing sleeveless shirts, essentially jerseys, the entire game. So it made a lot of sense from that perspective. But I think what really drew me to Mark in general is he understood that it was so much bigger than a product company. It was so much bigger than CPG, and I think that's kind of where Kevin's head was at. Or the opposite. Kevin really saw it more as a traditional CPG play, and whereas Mark really understood it's all about the community and the lifestyle aspect of the branding. So that paired with who he is as a leader and in business really was a no brainer.
And so what's that been like? So far, obviously, I'm sure when people watch the show, Mark does a million deals that they don't expect that these companies like working with Mark on a weekly basis. But like, how tactical has he and his team been to you and the strategy and improvements you've made since the show aired, et cetera? Like, talk through that a little bit.
Yeah, due diligence was definitely kind of a frustrating process, right? He has a lot of leverage there in terms of the terms he can command. And we tried to push back on some, and it wasn't so forgiving on that side of things. But once the deal was kind of ironed out and we knew we were moving forward together, not only Mark himself, but he has a great team of people around him that we've gotten to work with. And every time we've asked for Mark's time, we've gotten on Zoom with him and hashed out our strategy for an hour. He's been surprisingly available to us.